Hi, Heidi. How you doing today?
Hi, Rochelle. So great to be here.
Thanks for being on the 19.
Happy to be here.
So, you're the communication strategist for the Global Wellness Summit and the Global Wellness Institute. Can you explain the difference between the two entities for our listeners?
Yes, absolutely. As often they're kind of confused. The Global Wellness Summit was founded over 18 years ago and modeled after the World Economic Forum in Davos. The founder, Susie Ellis, had been to Davos and realized, we really need something of that global level for leaders across the wellness industry around the world to deal with the bigger questions facing our industry. And so that's the Global Wellness Summit. It's centered around one main gathering. It's a 4-day gathering, different places throughout the world. Our 18th one coming up in November is in St. Andrews, Scotland. We're so excited.
Oh my gosh.
And
I'd love
then
to go to that.
isn't that exciting? The Global Wellness Institute was founded a few years later because as we were having those gatherings, the founder realized we really need a set of unbiased, global, extensive data on the 11 sectors of the wellness industry. And this institute actually defined what, in fact, those sectors were and has started reporting now. It's every year on the global wellness economy. So it's the most cited, kind of heavily reliable set of reports, and it was really important to the founder of that to keep all of the research free. So the goal is to empower
Right.
wellness worldwide. There's a bunch of other initiatives from our wellness moonshot to geography of wellness. We have a relationship with the BBC on a new digital series. But it's really meant to just broaden access to information on the wellness economy. And that's a nonprofit organization, separate but related to the summit.
That's amazing. Thanks for clarifying. So, you just released some trends for 2024. What are the most significant wellness trends you've observed in the past year, and how are they shaping consumer expectations, in your opinion?
Oh, well, this is a big one because in the 20 years that this group has been watching the trends, 2023 posed the biggest shakeup that we've seen over the past 2 decades. And that's the underlying kind of wave that we're seeing in the wellness industry is a polarization, not unlike that we see in other parts of our society today, but with those
Right.
income gaps and mindset gaps and promulgating throughout society, we're seeing the wellness industry itself polarized into two areas that we're kind of calling hard care and soft care. Hard care, we're looking at higher tech, hyper medical, even more expensive wellness services than you could ever dream of a couple of years ago. And soft care, where people are really reacting against all the hyper consumerism of wellness and wanting to go back
Mhm.
to what's deeply human. So I'm going to talk about trends kind of in those two buckets. First, on the hard care side, the two biggest trends we're seeing in that this year are longevity services just skyrocketing, demand for that, and the
Mhm.
response to that demand skyrocketing. And of course, Big Pharma's magic tricks for weight loss, making the healthcare, big pharma and wellness worlds collide. And so our trend for this year on that is that wellness drugs need a wellness check. But they're certainly
Right.
booming. So in specific, what does that mean for wellness businesses today? I think if you're a wellness business and you're serving this higher income demographic, the demand is there for more diagnostics. We're talking about they want
Mm.
personalized longevity plans that link to their genetic makeup. They want,
Mhm.
to have genetic, testing done wherever they're getting their wellness services. And the client for we're facing, how do we deal with this patient of the doctor that no longer is satisfied with what insurance pays for? So they're looking for
Right.
something else from their medical provider, but they're not used to doing pay for services. And wellness centers are like, well, we don't really do that medically stuff. We kind of run our lane over here. But consumers are flocking to those wellness facilities to say, help us. We want this. So there's a huge demand there. And for biohacking services, et cetera. And some major players are moving into the market like Fountain Life. And we
Mhm.
see even the regular gyms responding to this, like Lifetime, the Moira Performance and Longevity Clinic. Um, Huge things around the world like Live Lounge, Hook, Human Longevity Inc. Springing up everywhere. So if you're a wellness business and you're not looking into offering some kind of longevity services, that's going to be a wake up call for you, and something
Sure.
that you need to respond to. And in weight loss, same thing. Even, when we saw, okay, in fact, Oprah did do the weight loss drugs. That was a big news flash. And the wave was already there in the general population, that was reaching many demographics of people, a huge wave of people demanding these weight loss drugs. And with that announcement and Weight Watchers embracing it, Noom, known kind of the millennial answer to weight management platform,
Mhm.
are highly focused on the psychology component, responding and offering new med. That's something, again, that if you are a wellness center and offering weight loss, you cannot ignore, and you certainly cannot shame the use of weight loss drugs. They're here to stay. And,
Mhm.
everyone from, even Lifetime or Equinox, who's not offering the drugs themselves, but offer, programs for those actually taking the drugs to complement what they're doing. So those are
Right.
the two main things, and what I think wellness brands have to watch out for in the hard care space. And the two main things that I'm seeing bubble up in our latest report from on the soft care side, wellness tourism has been booming. So these
Right.
luxury resorts here, and that's one of our biggest growing sectors. We have an upcoming that researchers are actually putting on a special free webinar on that on March 27th from our institute, because it's such a huge sector, exploding, but different this year. We're seeing not these beautiful, you know, resort demand for just those beautiful resorts, with so many extensive services. We're seeing a rise of back to basics, back to ancient modalities, pilgrimage travel. So going
Wow.
to Bhutan or Sri Lanka or the famous Camino de Santiago in Spain, these are the
Mhm.
kind of trips that we see a huge increase in demand for. And these countries are responding and, have restored a lot of these trails. That's very exciting. And then the other area that we've seen a particularly large and much overdue rise in is in men's mental and social emotional health. So there's been a huge increase in offerings for those for men, which have been a majorly kind of forgotten about segment in
Right.
mental wellness. It's held on to its stigma, I think, a little bit more in that group, and we see some very targeted services and centers open to men.
Mhm. So interesting. So, in light of these trends that are happening, what strategies should brands adopt to align themselves with the wellness movement, in your opinion?
Yeah, I think one of the main things that, you know, in addition to those main trends and kind of hard care and soft care, we're seeing a couple other trends that I just want to quickly mention because it influences my answer to this question.
Sure.
Climate is a huge, and we're seeing a big shift in, climate adaptive wellness offerings, that everything from,
Mhm.
offerings that are wellness resort being focused at, the evening and cooler hours. We're seeing a rise in travel to non-hot equator type destinations.
Mhm.
So you'll want to think about that. And we see a continuation in our trend from 2018 with the rise in feminist wellness. That's boomed the sexual health focus, the menopause,
Mhm.
destigmatizing menopause focus. And one of our recent trends this year was about postpartum wellness and a focus on care
Yes.
for both men and women at this period. And so I think with all of these things, these changes happening and the market kind of diverging in these ways, one of the first things brands need to focus on is really being totally authentic and transparent for
Mhm.
what you are. I mean, this is one of the most important things for a brand in the wellness space right now. And one of the things we have to remember is the whole wellness field. There's a segment of that came out of a group of people feeling really like the medical system failed them. And
Mhm.
so now even the high tech things, when we're really converging some medical offerings into the wellness space, we need to really be authentic and educate and and authentically market what they're going to truly receive in a treatment. And I think that brand authenticity and transparency is super important. I think you also have to know who you are as a business. There's this
Mhm.
and then there's that, and wellness is everywhere now. Wellness is for everyone now. So what is your place in the market? What are your core values? Are you going to go the market's diverging. Are you going to be the higher tech and offer all that? If you do that, you're going to isolate those that are really wanting, that more humanistic and back to basics accessible. You have to know,
Mhm.
which demographic you're going after because the income gap is huge. And
Sure.
whatever you're choosing in that, you need to make sure you have genuine solutions that the customer feedback loop is going to be positive too, because the customer feedback, as we all know in marketing, social media, digital platforms,
Yes.
it's really important, not just because you want that like and that 5 star and whatever. It really drives purchasing decisions of people for your
Absolutely.
brand.
Yeah, great point. We talked earlier about how wellness is deeply emotional. So the next question is, how can marketers leverage that deeply emotional nature of wellness to forge stronger connections with their audience? You already mentioned authenticity, which I think is probably top on the list. Anything else?
Well, I think two very specific things that any brand in wellness needs to do and get better at is storytelling and integrating
Mhm.
the power of video. And for a lot of the older brands, they're getting their nice new websites with the panoramic view of someone doing yoga and how beautiful their space is. But those really moving storytelling pieces, not just a main branding piece, but to constantly use those in reels in your digital marketing and
Mhm.
use it not just to show how beautiful your space is or what that treatment looks like, but to tell stories of people that this
Right.
impacts. And one great example of that is this Fountain Life company. So here, you know, in these last couple of years, we're seeing this. At first I was kind of thinking, gosh, this is kind of like a masculization of wellness, being in the wellness field for 20 years. And there's a lot of women, in the space. It's different than other markets. And here at these conferences, I was like, wow, it's great. We're seeing more men, it's getting more diverse. It's wonderful. And then I'm
Uh-huh.
just kind of like, oh, we actually have a lot of men. And wow, they're really finding solutions. Like they're just really all about results and the diagnostics and da-da.
Mhm.
And one of these examples was Fountain Life. They're just owning this longevity market in the States and opening up clinics all over. But at first, when I went to their website, I was like, what what do they do? I don't understand, what this is. It's precision diagnostics. Oh, they're using AI. Okay, I kind of had to dig down and see what they were doing, and it was all this technical
Mhm.
stuff, and I didn't really get it. Well, now if you go to their homepage, they have videos of a husband and wife, and she gave him the gift of their this precision diagnostics package, and it saved his life. And the other person
Wow.
that went through and
Yeah.
detected a cancer in the early stages or a neurodegenerative disease that they would have never known, and you're hearing their personal stories. It is night and day, like how even though I know them, I'm in the industry,
Yeah.
they do some work with us. I've been heard their presentations. I was still trying to get, the gist of their brand. And now with that storytelling and the power of video, it's crystal clear. And I think it's no surprise to me. They're one of the first big longevity clinics to be pulled into one of these big wellness real estate developments, just this Valvere
Mhm.
in Park City, Utah. It's a luxury wellness real estate development, and they just announced last year a partnership that they're going to be, kind of integrated into that development. But I think that was a great example. But I think whether you're in longevity, whether you're selling a pilgrimage, whether you're, talking about men's mental health, I think storytelling and the power of video to get to that truly emotional, authentic connection, to sell in both hard and soft
Yeah.
areas.
That's great. So we've talked about some very demographics. Who do you believe the primary target demographic is for wellness brands today? So we have the hard care, soft care. You said they're kind of divergent based on income. Who is that? Who's the wellness consumer?
It's everyone. And I think that is one of the biggest challenges for wellness brands
Mm,
today, because certainly there are some, like a big health club chain that may target people very widely. But I think
mhm.
there are very different and specific markets emerging. And certainly the older 50 plus population is a huge market. And this is something that
Mhm.
have not figured out how to serve, the 70-year-olds, the 80-year-olds, the 90-year-olds that are very vibrant and still having money and still spending money. We
Mhm.
that is something that we still as a wellness industry have to figure out. Another thing that is emerging is the youth market. For ages, this
Mhm.
has been like, must be 16 to come to the spa, or must be 18 to work out here without a parent. And I think that whole segment is going to evolve in an incredible way in the next 5 to 10 years. So I think the answer is, who is the primary target audience? I would say money wise, longevity services is
Mhm.
where the investment money is going. Like, there's been enormous investment in the United States and all over the world in longevity clinics,
Mhm.
like a doubling from 2021 to 2022, according to, I think it's Longevity Tech Magazine. And it is definitely a demographic to pay attention to. So it's no accident that Lifetime is launching Moira, and other, people are launching, longevity clinics all over. So I think if you're following the money, that's a good one to watch. And I think,
Mhm.
the femtech revolution and the feminist revolution in wellness, I think they have so much purchasing power in this area. And that's another one to watch, again, from a monetary standpoint. I think from a
Mhm.
societal standpoint, looking at the youth market is a very interesting and emerging opportunity as well.
Yeah, so when you talk about youth, you're saying under 18?
Yes.
Under 18, okay, okay. So,
I think,
let's
'cause to me, I think we have been treating a lot of stuff for our youth recently, right? So
Mhm.
ADHD and um, behavioral issues and mental wellness, mental health issues, obesity. We're treating a lot of stuff. So where's the prevention for youth?
Right.
And
Right.
so I
Such a good
think
point.
that that is something that we'll be watching in the coming years.
Well, I think so there's the dual demographic there. There's the people, the youth, and then there's their parents, right? So
Absolutely.
it really is everyone. It really is everyone. So, with the rise of digital platforms, how can brands effectively use social media and online communities specifically to promote wellness focused products and services?
Well, I think social media is a great way to build community, first of all. So I
Mhm.
think there it's hard to talk in general because there's so many. That's why I love marketing for niche things. I think any marketer does.
Right.
Because social media is a dream for niche marketing, right? You can say like, "Oh,
Mhm.
you like to fish on Fridays, in Norway." Like, we can build a community for that.
Right.
I think Facebook groups had an ad once that was kind of, you know, funny like that for like whatever random interest you might have. But I think the more that you can create some kind of community, even if you have a very wide, spread brand using social media. I'm a lifetime member. I know our club does local things and local hashtags, and it just connects a handful of us and makes us,
Mhm.
feel good in this tiny group in this big, huge gym. And I think it's possible around events that you might have or wellness programs. It's another great way that people are continuing. I think one thing that we haven't talked about yet, but I think people are looking um, no longer to go for retreats and go be fixed and then come back. They want that continuity. So in wellness
Mhm.
programming, whether that's at your gym or at your local bar studio or at a spa that you go to, I think you can use social media to continue that group dynamic that they may have experienced abroad. And I think
Mhm.
another way that social media obviously is hugely helpful is that's a platform where you can create. It's content marketing, right? We talked about authenticity and trust and how important that is. Social media
Mhm.
is your platform to create that trust and that authentic connection. And it's at top of the funnel, right? Where you say like, "Oh yeah,
Right.
well they told me that. Well, I tried that. And I did that free thing, or I found that content interesting." And that's how you can kind of wind them down to make a purchase decision at some point. But recipes, how-to guides, workout routines. This You see people using that so widely. So the real question is, I think, not how you can use the social media platforms, but how can you be noticed anymore in a social media
Right.
platform? Because
How can you stand out?
how can you stand out? And
Yeah.
I think that's a people talk a lot about partnering with influencers on social
Mhm.
media, and certainly I think that can help. I do find, the most authentic brand that I see or work with, like this group Sanctum out of Amsterdam. It's a fitness class that they do around the world in different places. And they have such a strong social media presence, not buying a single ad, not, using any influencers. It's truly, I think you can really tell those authentic brand, communities. For me, I think for most brands, having that authentic, real social media following that's truly engaged, uh, that knows your brand, that wants to stay connected with your brand, like that's way more valuable than, you know, the many, many more, unless you're trying to sell advertising, I guess, that you get with influencers. And then I
Sure.
think social media is a great place too to have that two-way conversation. with as much as
Mhm.
you can. I mean, that is another opportunity. And, it's a great marketing channel. I think, I love how you can track it. I love how you can, from a marketer standpoint, and, it's a great way to develop a community, offer something exclusive to them, kind of keep that value loop going back and forth with your organization. So I think social media marketing is huge and only growing. It changes all the time. So I'm
It
a fan of
does.
using a digital marketing agency that knows what all the changes are so I can strategize and not have to keep up with all
Right.
that because it's very hard. But I think that is your best channel. Email still, certain demographics, email still works. But again, we talked about the youth, we talked about, things changing.
Mhm.
I think social media is something everyone needs to keep paying attention to.
For sure. So, what are your predictions for the future? So, we talked about 2024 and kind of the evolution in 2023. What about 2025 and beyond? What do you think? Where is it going, and how can brands prepare for this change and transformation?
Gosh, well, I think longevity, that whole thing is here to stay. I
Mhm.
have talked a little bit about, youth. I do think that we are going to see a strong cry for prevention
Mhm.
services with youth. And because, of that, I think the area, not just because of both the cry for help in the youth market and this aging demographic that is just stressing all of our social systems, changing all of the economics of our both industry and government policy. I think that we're going to see a we talked about wellness policy in our last trends report last year, but I think we'll see a wave of wellness diplomacy
Mm.
influencing wellness policy. And we need to, I think, as we can feel it in particular here in the US, but in other parts of the world too, I think we're going to see this um, policy changes as such that the medical prevention wellness uh, uh, areas are not no longer siloed. I mean, we see some bridges here and there, but I think we need the changes to be upstream to have impact.
Mhm.
Like, for example, lots of uh, healthcare policies in the U.S. cover expensive drugs for migraine treatment, but they do not cover nutrition services or acupuncture, but they will keep
Right.
giving you drugs for something. So those basic things, I think we'll see upstream influences change. I think the other thing that we'll see, and globally on the youth, we had an interesting speaker last year, Sophie Howe. She was the first, I may say this wrong, the first commissioner for future generations in the small country of Wales in the UK.
Mhm.
And I think we'll see a the wellness industry really partner more deeply with the climate change mitigation effort. We talked about, some, the climate adaptive wellness trend and how that's affecting architecture and design and tourism and all that. But I think we'll see even tighter integration with that. And then we'll continue to see AI and technology really be embraced by the wellness industry. Instead, I think for a while, wellness was like, put down, leave your cell phones at the door and no technology.
Uh-huh.
I think we're over that. And if you want to play if you want to play in the longevity game, you are high tech AI enabled diagnostics. But
Mhm.
also, one of our trends was this immersive art for wellness and this multisensorial art displays. Like everyone in the States anyway knew about that Monet, display and all the Instagram
Mhm.
moments and what have you. But the writer of this trend, Ari Peralta, a neuroscience, Harvard trained neuroscientist, it goes way deeper. So when we really employ AI and multisensorial approaches to wellness that is, going to be really impact how spaces look from your, hotel lobby to your spa destination to your gym. I think we'll see a huge evolution in that. And I think
Mhm.
technology and AI in all areas, one of our other trends, home is the highest tech health hub. That's really at its infancy. Wellness real
Mhm.
estate is one of the biggest growing markets. I mean, it's a huge segment of the wellness industry, and we are going to see that the integration of AI and wearables and in home environments from the air, humidity in the air to the the lighting to the vibration, in your home. But we're going to see all kinds of things, all kinds of interventions and wellness support coming from the influence of technology.
Yeah. So fascinating that everything is all coming together
Yeah.
and that people are embracing wellness. So if you were to leave our listeners with one piece of advice about marketing and wellness, what would it be?
I think I would have to go back with be authentic. This is going to be three pieces of advice. I would say
Okay.
know know who you are and what is at the core of your unique proposition to the market. So know that.
Mhm.
Deliver authentic services and tell your story with human first person accounts of how your services impacted others.
I love it. I love it. Heidi, thank you so much for being on our show.
My
This was
pleasure.
so
Thanks so much for having
wonderful.
me.
And have a great day. Looking forward to more insights from you. Um, and yeah, again, thank you so much.
Well, thanks. I enjoyed it. Take care.